Welcome back to Click Connect. I am your host, Craig Sullivan, and today we've got my favorite restaurateur. This man is a legend and makes the best Italian food in all of the Southland at his restaurant in Dana Point. I'm talking about the one, the only, Mr. Jorge Luhan II from Table One Restaurant Holdings Incorporated. F&B is becoming huge on the hotel side. We can no longer accept average to good food. You need a consultant? George is the person to call. George, welcome to Click Connect. How are you?
Doing fantastic. How are you doing, Craig?
I'm
Long
great.
time.
It has been a while. The last time we got together, we got to have lunch, and we had Drew Hardy from 24/7 Hotels join us. And that was a great time. We need to do that again soon.
Definitely.
So, my friend, do me a favor and tell the audience about yourself and your company and your restaurant, please.
Okay. Jorge Luhan, Luciana's restaurant, Italian restaurant in Dana Point. We've been there since 1983. I'm going on our 40th anniversary here in October. We've sort of led the dining culinary scene in Orange County since the early 70s. I grew up in the industry myself since I'm about 7 years old, so I know the industry really, really well. And having said that, I started another company called Table One Restaurant Holdings. This is a holding company for management consulting. As well, we're looking to get into the mergers acquisitions sphere. I think there's a lot of opportunity in that marketplace post-COVID. I think a lot's changed post-COVID. So a lot of fun things happening. In the industry itself, as Craig says, F&B is a big issue, whether on the restaurant side or on the hotel side.
Great information, George. And I'm telling you right now, you've got to go to Luciana's best Italian food. You're going to love it. And tell whoever you see when you walk in that Craig and producer Danny sent you. So, and ask for George. He'll take care of you. George, you and I have been talking about this for years, but I think it's come to the forefront now. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show. You know, unless you're at a destination resort or an upscale boutique hotel, it seems like the food and beverage is incredibly average to maybe good. And we now live in a society where it's about the experience. And you've always pushed that, whether it was a gastropub concept or something else. So, how can you help the hotel industry up their food and beverage?
I think the big question when you look at some of these properties and we look at what's happened in hotels and food and beverage, from the boutique side, we're looking at what Bill Kimpton did in the late 80s, early 90s, bringing in unique restaurant concepts next door to his hotel to keep it somewhat separate, but providing that service. You look at the big hotels, what they've done. Vegas is a good example. We went from the buffets to the boutique chefs and the wonderful restaurants that are presented there. And I think the market that's missing is look at the smaller properties, and I use a lot of those where you do get the mediocre. And I think the problem is, they don't have a food and beverage on hand. You have somebody off property taking a look at it in a general sense for general markets. I think more specifically, we got to look at the specific market each one of these properties is in. Who's your customer base? What are they looking for? And when you come in and providing that service for them, whether you're using and I know space is important. You have a small kitchen, whether you use a centralized ghost kitchen and you're providing these people with a top-notch, high-quality meal that they can order online via a phone app and they can have it in their room in a couple minutes and not worry about it, or it's a breakfast experience where you're upping the breakfast experience more than what a lot of these are is the powdered eggs and the generic breakfast experience on some of these smaller properties. And so I understand the point they're looking at it as a giveaway, but it also can be a revenue stream. You don't have to go to a lot of the big hotels that are doing the big name chefs and paying the high salaries. I think there's an opportunity there to bridge the gap in the middle.
I agree with you. And I think that, if you bring in the right team and enhance that footprint of the restaurant and the kitchen, that it's a moneymaker. And you throw a bar in there, craft cocktails, a few other things. You've got a whole experience that people are sadly looking for at a lot of hotels. How difficult? I mean, the hotel industry has had a huge issue with staffing post COVID-19. Restaurants across the country took a beating. You and I talked during COVID-19. You started, working with DoorDash and a few of the others just to keep your team employed and get some food out there. So, what's it like staffing, coming in, creating the restaurant, creating the bar, and getting employees now?
I think post-COVID, we saw an extremely difficult time. I think most of the time, I'll speak for the industry. When you're looking at restaurants and hotels, most of it was back of the house. Most of it's kitchen. For the first time in a long time, I had to turn to actually using recruiters, and I've never done that in my 30 plus years doing restaurants. And so it was difficult. That is easing up a little bit, but we're still seeing a challenging marketplace. And, not to get in the political side, but if we take a look at what AB 257 will do to the industry, it's going to set some new benchmarks, and it's going to be even harder, I think, to find help in the restaurant industry, for sure.
Could you explain that assembly bill a little bit for the audience that may not know about it?
So as I understand it, AB 257 has been signed by the governor in California. It is being contested. It is, California Restaurant Association is trying to put it on a ballot in the next election cycle, not this one, the next one. And what it is basically it allows the governor to create a panel, a council per se, which is appointed, not elected. And this council can set rules, regulations as it pertains to QSR, which is quick service restaurants. That is your fast food, your go to the counter, order, either someone's going to run food out to you or you're going to pick it up. They theorize, minimum wage could get up to $22 an hour. So if we look at California, if we're at a $15 minimum right now, although that's not what anyone's paying to get a decent dishwasher today, you're paying 17 and 18, starting help at a fast food franchise 17 and a half to 18 an hour. So we're already above the minimum. Now we're going to push it possibly to 22, not to mention if they're going to give some benefits. And so I think the whole industry, not just restaurants, every industry is looking at an hourly employee is going to be affected by this. It's going to come down to the bottom line, and we're going to have to look at how are we going to incorporate this in our bottom line. Are we going to pass it on to the consumer, or are we going to try to internalize it and find a way to offset that cost?
Well, I can't see internalizing it because your margins are pretty thin as it is. And this is far reaching more so than just the restaurant or quick serve restaurants that are out there. I saw and I won't mention the name of the brand, but a fast food with a drive-through chain here in Newport Beach, and they had a sign up, help wanted, $22 an hour. So so it looks like we've got a lot of political fronts that we're going to be fighting in 2024. We've got city council's got a ballot measure in Los Angeles for sheltering the homeless in hotels within the city limits. You throw this on top of it in 2024, it's going to be a very interesting year. Now, with your M&A side, how are you financing restaurants at this point? Is that getting increasingly more difficult? Is it based on relationships that you have and you can bring people in so that they can get that money to do their tenant improvements? And, if they don't own the building that they're in, how does that work?
Well, correct. I think everybody knows it's, restaurants, nobody wants to finance a restaurant. Banks don't want them. They don't look that great for them when you look at their average return on a restaurant. And so what we're looking to do is be able to bring capital, internalize it from our own sources and bring it to the table. And what I did see during COVID, you saw a lot of brands that were long-term brands that had been around for a long time. Maybe they didn't have the capital to pivot. Maybe they didn't know how to do it. And they found themselves upside down. And so what we're looking to do with Table One is try to come into that sphere, into that marketplace and say, we'll come in with some capital, we'll help you out. Or maybe it's that individual that's been in the industry for a long time, just wants to retire, and it's a viable, the culture's there, the brand's there, and maybe they'll take a little percentage of something versus nothing. And so there's a lot of opportunity that I saw out there. And it's not that we're doing anything unique. I'm sort of taking it with my background, my knowledge, my culture, how I run restaurants. And I think there's a big push coming back to the independent restaurant. I think the pendulum has swung back to the indies, sort of away from big corporate. And that's sort of what we're trying to jump into. And so, as far as the financing is concerned, yeah, it is always a difficult situation, but you're going to get a lot further if banks know there's an operator, someone that's been around in the industry for a long time, that has a track record, that's proven successful, and has positive cash flows. And I think that's part of the problem when you have, somebody coming in new, who wants to do a restaurant is going to go to the local bank. You're not going to get it. You're always,
Right.
the beauty thing we say in this industry is everybody wants to own a restaurant. No one wants to run a restaurant.
That was funny. That was funny. Um, let's take a look at that independent boutique hotel. And let's say they've refreshed it. They've got a nice lobby bar. They've got a good restaurant space. They've got nice tables. How would you come in and set that up without giving away your secret sauce? Would you do more of a gastropub, 2 meals a day, very limited menu but very good menu? How would you help a hotelier with that?
I think the first thing I do is I'd sit down with the hotelier and figure out, what's the culture, what's the brand. Then I would go around the local marketplace, the demographics. Where are you situated? Are you by restaurants? Are you not? Are you more isolated? Are you in a business complex where there's nothing around you? And then we're taking that data in. You could say, okay, based upon the number of people, what type of customers is in the hotel? Is it tourist based? Is it business based? And then from that information, you're going to funnel it down to say, we're going to need breakfast, we're going to need lunch, or we're going to need dinner, or you're going to do 2 meals, as you said, or you're going to do 1 meal, depending on what happens. But I think that would be the start. And then once you look at that, then you can break down the menu itself. And obviously, when you're looking at that type of customer base, you can't pigeonhole yourself to, I'm going to do an Indian style, or I'm going to do a Chinese or Japanese. You're going to want to do it more encompassing for everybody. I love the gastropub idea. You and I talked about this a long time ago because it's approachable. If you're coming into a hotel, you're going to grab a little something to eat, something that's comfortable. You know what? It's flirty, it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's approachable. So that would, I like to keep it that way. I like to keep it in that realm. So I think that would be my setup, and to take a look on it is see where it is, what they're doing, and where the brand wants to go, and what the brand image is.
There you go. I love that. And producer Danny's heard me say this, since we started doing the show, that when a hotel's hitting on all 8 cylinders, it celebrates the community that it's in. And okay, I've got a small beach house. I don't have the infrastructure. Brother's not married. He stays with me. Sister has got 3 kids and a husband. I don't have the infrastructure for everybody. So her and her family go to the hotel. We rely on that, hotel for some meals as well, because I'm not going to be cooking all the time. Let's face it.
Sure.
I'll barbecue everything. I'm known to do that, but it's like, no, I don't want. I want to enjoy everybody's company. So let's sit down and have a meal. And I think just the staff that you've always had at your restaurant, and the chefs and everything. I mean, the quality is second to none. The atmosphere in your restaurant is second to none. And this. It's always my favorite, date restaurant to go to. And because all the ambiance is there, all the food is there. You always make a magnificent dessert for us, and bottle of champagne, and it's great. And I think you bring that experience to every guest that comes into your restaurant. And if you're helping a hotelier, whether it's the leisure traveler or the business traveler, or a combination of the two, that's a step in the right direction, and you can show them how to make money, which obviously everybody's in this business to make money. We're not here to just open the window and throw it out there.
Sure. I think, to your point, sorry to jump in, to your point, I think one of the things we've seen is we've gone to the extreme. We're trying to whitewash everything in the sense of, and I mean that way, just corporate everything where everyone says the same thing.
Right.
People are looking for personality. My restaurant, everyone has their own personality. You come to a nice hotel property, and it's nice to have the structure, but also let's bring some personality into it. Let's bring the feeling of the inside. Some of these properties, not allowed to say this, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, by no means. That's their style. My style is different. Bring a little uniqueness in from the individual itself. Let them shine through. Let them be themselves, and the guests can attract themselves to it. And they feel more at home. They feel more comfortable. They don't feel so boxed into a corporate structure.
Absolutely. And, that's one of the things why I'm so excited that you're going to be on our Refuel Up Your F&B Game at CLIC 6 next year panel. We've got your fraternity brother, Mark Chrissy's on there. We've got Glenn Hausman. We've got Nima, who a friend of mine that's also in the hotel restaurant business as well. So, we've got just a stacked deck to bring all these experts to the hotel side, and you can really truly be able to up your F&B game. So
Correct.
what's the latest trends that you're seeing out there that maybe make sense and others that absolutely don't? What are you seeing?
It's a broad subject matter. If you're going to speak about it in my industry in fine dining, what we're seeing is what's that?
Let's go with the fine dining.
Yeah, fine dining, we're seeing technology is the big trend right now. I think technology is driving from service, front of the house, back of the house, analytics, data, being able to use the data in ways we've never seen before, understanding not only what that customer wants, but when they walk in the door, it's going to be shown what they ate, when they ate it, how they ate it, what time they ate it, when they like to eat it. This type of information is incredible today. And I think technology is the one thing that's driving the biggest changes right now in the fine dining world, in the fine dining area. And we're not even getting into robotics. I've seen conveyor belts bring food to tables. That's going to the extreme because people still want human touch. That's why they're going out to eat. They want the human touch. But within that, it's bringing the human touch in the technology world and making the whole experience better. So I think the one word is technology for sure. And then it's sort of a cliche. That's been going on forever. But in the fine dining world, we're really seeing it.
That's good. I think that's outstanding. Now, speakeasies in some of the places in San Diego, some of the hotels, the Moxie's got one. They do craft cocktails, special spirits. Is that still a big trend in the restaurant world?
I think it is. What it allows a brand to take a concept and maybe have a brand that's a little tired and you have some space, you can spin it and do something really sort of cool with it. And you really change the demographic without changing the brand and bringing a secondary stream in without changing who you are. And there's a classic restaurant in Newport Beach that did this really, really well. I'm not going to bring up their name, but they did it really, really, really well. Okay. And they were able to twist it and bring that in. So I think that is an element. I think it's there. And I think it also allows them to take opportunity. Maybe it's a time slot that they're not busy. Maybe it's a time slot, whatever it might be, that they can take extra revenue as they build a brand around it, but they don't want to change the original brand. I think that's the key thing.
Very good. All right, my friend. Are you ready for our lightning round?
I am.
Okay. Producer Danny's going to put 2 minutes on the clock. Word association. First thing that pops into your head, starting now. Team.
Restaurants.
Executive chef.
Key player.
Labor.
Difficult.
Red wine or champagne?
Enjoyment.
Favorite hotel or resort?
Wow, that's difficult.
Yeah, just someplace you've traveled to.
Favorite hotel or resort? Honestly, my mind's blank on this one. There's so many wonderful ones. I can't even come up with one.
Window or aisle?
Aisle.
Barefoot people on an airplane?
Comfortable.
Gastropub?
Excitement.
Competitive cycling?
Crazy.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
You did that with 56 seconds left on the clock. All right, my friend. So my last question, George, is tell the audience about your fine dining in Dana Point. I love this restaurant. I don't get there often enough. I've got to get down there soon, and I will. But George, let's tell them about Luciana's, please.
Okay, Luciana's restaurant is in Dana Point. We're a 39-year institution. We serve Italian cuisine, specifically more Northern Italian style. We were founded originally in 1976 with our first store in Newport Beach. We've always set the culinary trends. When my mother started in 76, we were one of the first to do homemade pastas, first to do homemade sauces to the grocery stores, and it goes on and on and on. We do have a property in Italy. We produce an extra virgin estate grown olive oil. We started to do this in 85 before the whole trend. We do have the olive oil in our restaurants. And so when we speak about true Italian cuisine, we've always set the standard and we continue to do so. We are celebrating our 40th year anniversary in October of next year. We do have an extensive wine program. We have a fantastic team. My general manager is a level 3 somm. We have over 350 wine labels encompassing 10 different countries. And so a lot of times people don't associate Italian food or Italian restaurant with great wine. We have an incredible list for everybody. So it's really enjoyable. The restaurant itself is set in an old house built in the 1950s. It's got a lot of historic charm. So it's reminiscent of an old Tuscan inn. So as you come in, you will really find yourself transported to Italy with the service, ambiance, food, and total in the total experience.
What he said. He's at. I love that restaurant. George, thank you for joining the conversation on CLIC Connect today. Really appreciate it. Really looking forward to you being on stage at the 6th Annual California Lodging Investment Conference on March 1st and 2nd. Thank you, my friend. How about a shameless plug? How can people get a hold of you?
If you want to get a hold of us, Luciana's Restaurant is down in Dana Point, 949-661-6500. And from there, you can get a hold of as well as the other company, Table One Restaurant Holdings. We are a new company, so you can go through that number and get us there too.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Thank you, George.
Thank you very much, Greg. It's my pleasure to be here today.
Take care. Thank you, our audience. But you know what I need to do? I need to thank our production partners, Red Roof Franchising and Chicago Title National Commercial Services Group, California. They've got a hotel practice now. So for all of you hoteliers, everybody knows every deal is very important. You got to get it closed on time. There's certain milestones you have to meet during that escrow. Call Chicago Title National Commercial Services Group, California. They'll be glad to help you. Call our friends at Red Roof. You know, they've got a soft brand. They've got an extended stay brand. They've got their economy select service brands. Great alternative. They'd love to hear from you as well. Please give them both a call and let them know that producer Danny and I sent you. And with that being said, I want to thank you for joining us. Please remember to subscribe and ring the bell on our YouTube channel. Very important to us that you follow us there. The shows always drop there first for anybody who's a night owl. They're there at 12:01 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, then the rest of the social media platforms. So thank you all for joining us. And as I'm fond of saying, be kind, share your knowledge. Now go be amazing.